but you're working alongside people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Josh Hawley, Lauren Boebert, who one haven't been held accountable for their roles in the insurrection, and also who have created for you, and even for a lot of your fellow representatives, what is a hostile working environment. Um, I don't know how. I mean, look, Cori, I could tell you a praying woman. I know you have a pastor background, because I be done jumped on Lauren Burberry by now. So I'm glad, I'm glad that you are not me. This is why you're in office and I'm not. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'll be like, we got to step outside, sis. It's what it is, right? But how much or how difficult it is, that part of it is that there's a toxic work environment that's happening in Congress right now. So how do you handle that part?
Yeah. And so, as someone who has been in management, I worked in management for more than a decade. And just thinking about all the situations that I've gone through, from managing in childcare to managing as a nurse, thinking about all the different situations that happen and how we elevate those things to HR. And then as the manager, you get it back from HR, and then you execute on whatever the plan is. And knowing that we don't have that in Congress. We don't have an HR department. We don't have anybody that we can, elevate something to. It's just, you just deal with it. But I think part of it too is because folks are different when you are in face to face. Some of these folks will be on television and saying all kinds of things about me, just all, tweeting all kinds of crap. Oh, she's a terrorist. She's a murderer. She's this and that. And, but then when they see me, they're turning around.
They ain't got that same energy. I suspected that.
Yeah, and so so we understand part of it is just, it's a game. It's a way that they are able to raise money. That's why sometimes I don't say anything, because I've learned that if I react, they use that to raise money, and they raise millions off of what we do. But us, we don't. So the thing is, okay, I'm not going to help you. So that's why sometimes we say stay silent. It's not because we don't want to. But the other thing is that I have to remember is, as a Black woman in Congress, if I do anything to them, so much can happen against me. But if they do that exact same thing to me, they would probably not even get a smack on the wrist. So I have to remember that all the time. Like, if you do what you would want to do, what would happen to you? And would that be the best way to serve the people of St. Louis if you get put out of Congress, or if charges are brought up against you? So I have to think about that. But the other part of that, though, Jemele, is when they do those things, they put a bigger target on our backs. The amount of hatred and it's unbelievable, from our inbox, every inbox on social media, to our email, any email that we have, any email inbox, to just people even on the street. Getting death threats is a very real thing that we have to take. And it's not just for me. When death threats come, I'm not alone. I don't walk alone. So when I'm in DC, I'm with my team. So does that mean that now I'm putting my team at risk too? Because they're with me. So if somebody is trying to come and hurt me, if they miss, do they hit my staff? So they think it's a game. They're playing this game to feed their base, but then, and not even totally serious about it, because they say different things behind closed doors. But they do these things to rile up their base. But then those things hurt people like me. And for me, especially, I've had not only death threats in my life, I've had multiple death attempts before I ever entered Congress, just from being an activist. And so this thing is so real, and they don't understand from the standpoint of being a Black woman in America. They don't understand, what that's like. They'll never understand that. And so with them being so callous, and them being so just neglectful about humanity, it's sickening. But what happens is it that if I die, then is everybody like, oh, wow, we really should have gotten some security for her. Wow, she said it. She gave us the tweets. She gave us the emails where they said we're going to hang you on this particular day, where they said that they were going to fry her kids like bacon. She gave it to us.
Yeah, I mean, one of the many reasons why when they refuse to take any kind of meaningful action against the lawmakers who say this kind of incendiary things, it is really, it's a low point. It's a low point for our political system. And so I certainly was glad to see you stand with Representative Omar. I know you've gone through your own, as you mentioned, death threats to stand with her because that, again, y'all got great patience, and that's what makes this so kind of messed up is that it's just political theater to them. Meanwhile, your life is at risk every time they mention your name because they know the people that follow them what they will do, and so that part is just beyond disappointing. I want to ask you about how you made this decision. I think last year it was a hearing on reproductive rights, and you decided to publicly share how you became pregnant as the result of a rape. What made you decide that you wanted to publicly disclose something so traumatic that you had been through?
Yeah, so when I heard about the Texas SB 8 bill and that it had passed, first of all, I just couldn't believe it. But I also just how crazy it is, a $10,000 bounty and 6-week abortion ban, when people don't even oftentimes know they're pregnant. Uh, Thinking about not only how that would affect Texas, but a bunch of other states, because we knew that there would be copycat legislation coming forward. So I knew I had to do something. And again, what do I have in my toolbox? Because at this point, I have no institutional power, So what do I have? I have my voice. I have my experience. You've used it before. You've been vulnerable for the people before. So pull that out. And so I did. And I thought about it like, I had to talk about a situation I hadn't even thought about since it happened. Like, as I told the story the first time for this hearing, I didn't even know. That was when I first realized that it was rape. Because I hadn't thought about it since it happened when I was 20 years ago. And it broke me down, because I'm like, but so I knew I had to do something to help, whatever I could lend to help stop this from happening all over the country. And I wanted to tell every little Black girl that we have nothing to be ashamed of, that when we see the headlines, when we see the Republican men in power in our states passing laws that govern what we do with our bodies, our own bodies, I wanted them to know that I know what we are seeing. But right now, we live in a society that has failed to legislate love and justice. I wanted them to know we recognize they have failed to legislate love and justice for us. But because we deserve better, because we demand better, because we're worthy, I will put myself on the line for you.
And by the way, your experience aside, like you don't have to be a victim of sexual assault to have the right to have an abortion, right? It's that doesn't, because I know often the conversation is framed like, oh, but if you were the victim of rape or incest or sexual assault, then it's okay. No, it's okay. Period. All right.
Okay,
Regardless.
absolutely.
So right. So as we, head into this election cycle, I mean, as we mentioned, you're seeking re-election this year. What are you most proud of accomplishing as an elected official?
I would say people kept telling me before I came in, oh, you're a freshman, you're not going to have a voice. Nobody's going to listen to you. You won't get anything done. It's going to take you years to build relationships to be able to move any legislation. Well, not so. We introduced our first piece of legislation during the insurrection on January the 6th, And we just started rolling from there. So up to now, I think we've moved like 15 pieces of legislation out of the House of Representatives. We have we got that, that extension on the eviction moratorium. And even though we didn't get the full time frame that we wanted, we were able to get a few more weeks to help keep people in their homes. We get we get the messages from people who say that action helped them stay in their homes. And then so many people just feel like, wow, I feel represented. Like there is a voice, there's somebody that looks like me, that talks like me, somebody who has a tattoo. Like so many people reached out to me. They were like, you show your tattoo on the floor. Like I felt like I came alive when I saw that. And I'm like, I didn't even realize, but that representation so matters. And so that I think I am most proud of is that there are people who have felt left out. People who have felt left out and unheard and unseen for so long. Like you have to be, a certain way to be in office or be in Congress. So many people just feel like I can do it. I see Cori, I can do it. And so that's what I'm most proud of, is that people feel like, a regular person from a jacked up background in so many ways that has dealt with trauma, even though you don't have to go through trauma, but we don't want you to go through trauma, but even somebody like that people counted out, even this person from the bricks of St. Louis, even this person can do some things and help bring change. So the little girls that come up to me on the street, they run up to me and they say, I saw you on television, and they come and grab me by my legs. The kids that send me pictures, the teachers that send me pictures of the kids looking up at my picture on a TV screen, and they're talking about me, or they send me cards. Kids send me cards, stacks like this, thank you. And you can barely make out the words, it's just, sometimes it's just squiggly lines. That's what I'm most proud of, because they know at a young age that it's possible. And I always tell them, don't be like me, be better than me, be greater than me. Only allow me to be what you step on to get to where you go.